Most weight loss plans are one size fits all, not taking into account each person's individual needs. Noom is here to change that. Noom Weight uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain. But it also takes into account your unique biological factors, which also affect weight loss success. The program helps you understand the science behind your eating choices and why you have cravings. Everyone's journey is different, so your daily lessons are personalized to you and your goals. One of the great things about Noom is that it's nourishing instead of restrictive. They focus on progress instead of perfection. You don't have to give up carbs, or anything for that matter. Have cravings? Food FOMO? Noom can help you lose weight while still enjoying your favorite foods. To date, Noom has helped more than 5.2 million people lose weight. Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com.
Hello, you're listening to Me and Paranormal You with your host, Ryan Singer. Because it's more fun to believe. Hey everybody, thanks for listening to another experience of Me and Paranormal You. This is your buddy Ryan Singer. I mean, I can't believe it's taken, I guess, the better part of over 5 years to get my guy Dan Buttler on the show. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's so much we could talk about that there's no way we're going to cover even, 5% of it in one interview, in one episode here. But just for a little backstory, real quick for people, I met Dan in I think it was the end of May 2019 at a location in Florida. On the very first time I ever went to this one location in Florida to do like a full scale investigation of UFO, Bigfoot, ghost, all kinds of paranormal activity, all kinds of things happening. We can talk a little bit about that 2019 trip if you want to. I'd also like to get into kind of like the origins of your fascination and dedication to searching for, unknown and, anomalous, cryptids and everything else. Cause I mean, you've got a ton of experience and you've got the background to know how to do it. So, can you give me just like a brief synopsis of, kind of who you are and where you come from on this, just as far as like your background goes for people as well?
Basically, I'm long-time law enforcement, so 26 years in LE, and I specialize in investigations and did a stint as a game warden as well. And then I've got some TAC background and stuff like that, but I guess my majority of my time has been investigations and, finding who's who in the
zoo. Well, it's interesting because I mean, one of the one of the skills that I noticed, and you were trying to give me like a crash course to the best of your ability back then, on the fly as well, was when we were out in in the field, was trying to notice certain things for tracking and finding the clues that will allow us to actually track an animal and know when something has been through an area. And I'm curious, how long was it for you before you felt really good? Was tracking something that you got instantly, like it just resonated with you and you were like really good at immediately, or did it take you a minute?
It's hard to say because I've been hunting since I was a pup. I mean, I was carrying a BB gun with my dad out in the woods, so kind of innate for me. When it began, I don't know. I think it's just a lifetime of experience and paying attention to what's going on, and plus my training on top of that, so it just made me better. what I did. I wouldn't say I'm any better than anyone else, but when you have that kind of experience, and I've bow hunted my whole life, and as I got more into the Bigfoot scene, I started noticing things, and things started coming together, if that makes sense. So I've always tracked animals, but things that I thought before were just happenstance or dismissed, I started putting the puzzle together.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, so it sounds like you're super comfortable out in the woods, out in nature, right?
Oh yeah, my whole life's been in the woods.
So, this is the part of me that, I mean, because in 2019, when we first met, I had just started kind of going out into the woods specifically. It was with our buddy Ed Brown, been out to Lake Arrowhead a couple times, and my, another friend who wasn't on that trip, my buddy Alex Mistretta, but I had been mostly like haunted location guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's why I was even at that trip, was for the paranormal side of things. So that was kind of, I had like a crash course, master course, and, being outside for creature features, as I call it, on that trip. And I mean, boy, what a crash course that was. But
that was a good one.
Yeah. So you spent your whole life kind of in the woods, hunting, very familiar with the environment, very natural. So you start putting these puzzle pieces together. Tell me about that a little bit.
Well, it's like, like I said, I hunted fish my whole life, but there's little things, and you always try and put it into the, the box you're familiar with. So you hear a bird, but it sounds a little too big to be a normal bird, but you just dismiss it as, that must be a big owl. But as you grow and you start to learn more about, the Bigfoot scene, the dynamic stuff, and, things start to click. And so things, even from my childhood, I come back and I'm like, wow, what I thought was this is probably that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Did you have any kind of unexplainable experience from your childhood that you look back on now and think to yourself, oh, wow, that definitely probably wasn't what I thought it was at the time?
Oh yeah, I was the biggest one that probably stands out. I was 15, and this is, let me throw you back to how crazy it was back in the old days and when you and I grew up. But my mom would take me up and drop me off in the woods by myself, and I would bow hunt. I was 15. She'd drop me off on like Friday.
Did you say Bowen?
Bow hunt.
Oh, bow hunt. Okay, so and where? Let's give me like the area. Where are we talking about here? We're talking about Central California, or where are we?
Yeah, the Northern California and the Sierras.
Okay, cool.
Above Sly Park, not to give any specific places, but yeah, above Sly Park up there. And something was tracking me, and I thought it was a cat at first, but looking back, no, I don't think it was a cat. I think I was being escorted out.
Wow. Now, is it the sense that you look back and is it a sense, a feeling that's different than when there is a cat around?
Right. Well, predators are predators, but yeah, it's a different feeling. I mean, I've seen cats before, and it wasn't right. It just wasn't right. I mean, I don't get spooked in the woods very easy, but whatever this was, it was tracking me, was making me very nervous. And that's not normal. And like I said, my whole life's been in the woods, hunting and fishing.
Yeah.
But back then, you Occam's razor, you try and put the simplest explanation to it that you know of at that point.
Yeah.
But looking back, I'm like, yeah, probably not.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people who don't know you, I go, if Dan gets nervous, I get nervous. And I'm already nervous, but if Dan gets nervous, then I'm scared. I guess that's the better way to say it. I'm nervous, but if Dan gets nervous, then I'm scared. Because you're the guy who's got the
gut, man.
Yeah, right. And we've had a ton of conversations over the years about different experiences and things, but what was the I guess what was the crash, the flashpoint, or whatever we want to call it for you, when you're like, okay, these puzzle pieces are, I've been collecting these puzzle pieces. I think that there's this Bigfoot thing. I think there's something to it. I'm going to actually start dedicating time. When does this happen?
All right, 2011. I went on an expedition, and I was out in the woods. I've been out in the woods at night, all by myself, going to my tree stand or whatever, hunting. But my hacks went up. I've been in a lot of shit sandwiches. Can I say that?
Yeah, you can say all that.
Yeah. So I've been in some hairy situations, with SWAT and, breaking doors on homicides and stuff like that. But I didn't hear anything. I didn't see anything, but it was out in the woods in the middle of the night, dude. And I just almost lost my shit. My hair went up on the back of my neck. I mean, I started to freak out. I had to do some combat breathing to reel myself in, but for no reason. And at that point, I didn't know why that was. I thought I'd freak myself out. But the more I listened to other podcasts and things like that, I would hear guys, same thing, combat vets, stuff like that, say the same thing, that, all of a sudden this feeling came over me, which was like complete dread. And that's when I really started paying attention, because that freaked me out.
Yeah. Now, was that just like a hunting expedition that you were on?
No, I was actually on an expedition for looking for the big boy.
Oh, okay. Now, who was that through, or was that just by yourself, or with some friends, or was that through like BFRO or what?
Yeah, I was with BFRO.
Okay. So did you just you hear about their website, and then you start engaging with other people through or contacting with other people, or
Right.
sign up, or how'd that happen for you?
Yep. Yeah, I just went on their site and planned on I was going to go on a trip and see, what's what, see if there's something to this. And yeah, that woke me up.
How long was that trip?
I think we were there for 4 days, 5 days, but I had some massive experiences during that time.
Oh, wow. So
some crazy stuff.
So that first night that you were just describing, where your hacks went up and you felt the sense of dread?
Yeah, that was the first night. And then the next night there was it sounded like Barry Bonds was outside my tent, freaking taking off on a tree. It was nuts.
Like something was swinging hard. Something was swinging hard.
Oh yeah,
making solid contact.
Big footsteps. Oh yeah, dude. There was no doubt. It was. Yeah, that's the first thing I thought. Holy crap! Who's swinging a baseball bat outside my tent?
Oh wow! Now, on this expedition was there a lot of people? Were you camping together or individually alone?
We were kind of spread out, and I was actually with my brother-in-law and then 2 other girls, because no one wanted to camp in this area, and I'm like, I'll go there. So we went to a place that was known to have interaction, and yeah, there was some interaction.
Wow. So how long did those
big,
knocks
heavy
last?
footsteps? Oh, just very short. But I mean, they were so loud. I mean, it was absolutely distinct. There could either was a guy out there swinging a bat outside my tent, or I don't know. I can't say I didn't see it. So
yeah, something with a thumb.
It had some power, a lot of power.
Yeah, because I don't know if anyone's listening has ever finds themselves in the woods, which people often do. I recommend trying this, because be out in the woods, and first of all, find a good stick, right? And the one that won't just shatter as soon as you hit it up against a tree. But then find a tree that's good, and to make a solid contact noise. It's not like the most difficult thing you'll ever do in your life, but at the same time, it's not super easy to find a really solid stick that will just bang, bang, keep banging away on something without breaking. to make that solid noise too, right? So it's not like it just happens every day, all day long, out in the woods. This isn't happening.
No, I've heard them push over trees. I've heard them push over like 6 trees in one, like 20 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're man. They'll let you know when they want you to get out. That's for sure.
Yeah. So we think that's what that's all about, huh? Like letting you know it's time to leave.
Yep, exactly.
Now
Yeah,
as
it's
the
definitely.
Bigfooter in you is like, okay, then does that mean it's time to stay?
No. Well, it depends on where I'm at. I mean, if we're down in an area, yep, time to go. When they start throwing stuff, and they'll let you know they'll play, they'll throw little stuff, but when they start really pushing stuff over and making aggressive growls and stuff, it's time to go.
Oh, okay. So there's an escalation, it sounds like.
Yeah, they'll let you know. I mean, they have a playful side. They'll throw stuff and mess around with you and make noises, but they also, sometimes they scream, and there's no doubt that they're telling you beat feet.
Yeah. Now, with the footprints that you heard, see, to me, this is the most. If I had to make a scale of things I don't want to hear, at the top of that list is probably heavy footsteps right outside my tent.
Yeah, I've heard that numerous times. I've actually had them put their feet under my tent.
What?
Yeah, put their feet under my tent, shuffle, and they like the sound of the nylon or something because they like to rub it.
When did this happen? Where was this?
And the Sierras. I'll say that.
So
Southern Sierras.
Paint the picture for me. You're laying in your tent. Is it like at night? Yeah, obviously you're shutting it down for the night.
This was actually early AM, probably 4-ish.
Okay.
Yep. I heard it walk up. I heard it slide its feet under the tent. And the other thing is I had motion lights out too. They flipped them around, went the other direction.
Wait. So they manipulated the lights, the technology you had there just to alert you of anybody coming up. So
Yep.
now you couldn't see any shadow like outside your tent, right? From the lights. So the lights were
Nope.
pointing towards the tent, right?
No, I haven't pointed out away. So if something approaches, kicks on the light, gives me, some time to
okay.
figure out what's what.
So
but they turned them around the other way.
So was there a shadow outside your tent of this thing?
I couldn't see it.
Oh my God.
Because they flipped the lights the other way.
Oh wow. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. So
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, so they put their feet underneath the tent. I've never heard this story from you. And they just start what? They start sliding their feet around underneath the tent?
No, they just slid their foot under the tent and they're rubbing the tent. You hear them just rub the tent. It's like they like the sound the nylon makes or something. Yep.
So what's happening what's happening to you or inside your mind when this is happening?
Well, a whole lot of things. I'm like excited because I'm getting some interaction, but I'm also scared. I mean, there's a whole lot of things.
I mean, you're a big guy, right? I think it's, you're not like, just this tiny, thin little, guy who's like, I'm going to go out in the woods today, like me. Right. But so,
I'm 6'3", 255.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, when people look at you, they think, okay, this is a formidable presence. I would argue. So so it's not like you're just, people don't look at you and think to myself, oh, I could push this guy around, right? That's not the vibe you give off. And so for me, it's like extra, I don't, funny might not be the right word, but when, a formidable guy is kind of like, oh shit, like time to go, right? I mean, that's why I was saying, like, I'm always nervous, but then when you get nervous, I get scared because I'm like, okay, my guy over here is ready to go. I should have already been gone. But I mean, I just don't. Were you able to fall asleep after an event like that, or were you just up for the day soon after?
No, actually, believe it or not, you fall back asleep, or I do.
I just don't
You
understand.
listen to them, it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I
But
have a hard time sleeping, I think is part of it for me. But well, let's take a quick break. I because there's so many more other stories and interactions that you've had, and I do want to touch on the thermal that happened when we were in Florida in 2019 as well. And then maybe later too, I want to talk about the because I've actually been working on it. I want to get I want to talk to you a little bit about the river video as well that you've sent me, that I'm trying to get edited together to make it to make it extra
yeah,
leave
that's a good
extra
one.
compelling. But we're gonna be right
That's a
back
good one.
with my buddy Dan Buttler. We're talking Bigfoot and all things related. What's it like to be out there? Years of experience on expeditions and trips, and not to mention interactions. We're gonna be right back. Okay, I got my guy Dan Buttler here, and oh my God, I don't know what would happen to me in that moment if I'm in a tent and there's just Bigfoot feet just underneath my tent all of a sudden, and they're rubbing the tent. Like, I mean, I'd be like, it's almost like cue the Marvin Gaye, right? I just I just imagine
The
this
night
Bigfoot.
shift.
Yeah, just kind of like sultry, some sultry music, rubbing the tent all nice and sexy, like. But the you've done a ton of expeditions. You've gone on a bunch of trips. Um, it hasn't lined up yet for on our schedules when we've gone back to Florida, and I'm hoping when we're making a trip, hopefully early next year, hoping to get you back down there. I know the homeowners really want to see you again, and hope to have you on our next trip. But the I want to talk. There's a specific story that's popping into my mind that I feel like I want you to share with the listeners. There was a trip you were on. We won't talk about locations necessarily, but there was, if I'm not mistaken, like a hunting cabin, and there was a couple of you in there overnight, and uh, things started really popping off. Do you remember the specific story I'm talking about, or is there so many of these that you're like, oh, which one?
There's numerous, but I think that you're probably talking about the one where it's blocking out the moonlight
Yeah,
and throwing the rocks against the window. Yeah.
yeah.
Where I actually had to piss in a Ziploc because I was too scared to go outside.
Yeah. So set me up on this story. Let me, let us hear how this one goes down.
Well, I mean, the first thing that happens, we were all sitting around the campfire hanging out, and there's a tarp where the guy who owns this cabin showers. He has a blue tarp on the ground back there. Well, something grabs this tarp and just freaking throws it, and I lose my shit. I jump over the fire almost to the other guy's lap, freak them all out, but tarps just don't get up and walk away.
No, it's not a throw blanket.
No. And they make a lot of noise when you grab them. It's not like the wind caught it because there was no wind. And I'm jumpy to start with, man. Stay late, stay alive.
Yeah.
But it just scared the shit out of me. And then me jumping over the fire towards the other guys freaked them out. Anyway, that was the first thing that happened. And then, so we go to bed and some other, noises, stuff like that. Nothing crazy really happens, but I have to pee. So I sit up and I'm going to go outside, and all of a sudden, ow. A little rock hits the window, and I'm like, well, that could have been a moth, but it sounded like a rock.
Roughly what time estimate?
3-ish.
Okay.
From 3 a.m. And so I'm like, okay, I'm freaking myself out. I always want to dismiss stuff. I don't always want to jump to, it's the big guy. So I turn, and then another one, I see it hit the window. I'm like, yeah, that wasn't a moth. And so I'm looking out the window, and then I can see the moon's in the background. And I see something swaying back and forth, and it sways, blocks out the moon, and then comes back, it sways, and blocks out the moon. It wasn't a tree branch. And so that really freaks me. So I lay back down, and I'm sitting there, but I have to go pee so bad, dude. But I'm like, if I sit up, he's going to see me. He's going to come through the window. Or she, I don't know. I was scared. I was freaking scared. So, yeah, I ended up pissing in a Ziploc bag, dude. Because I wouldn't go outside. I was too scared.
The things that we do, right?
Dude, this thing was huge. It's blocking the entire moon out from the entire window.
Yeah, there's no way in hell I'm going outside under that condition.
Yeah, I'm not going.
Yeah, I mean, I would piss myself before I did that. Now, were there any signs outside the next day, like come, sunlight? So you were able to fall back asleep again after this?
Yeah, after about an hour.
Yeah. Okay. And then now when you go on like a trip like this, now I don't know if this was you and your buddies or if this was BFRO related. I guess it doesn't really matter. But when you go on these trips, I think it would be interesting to maybe get into a little bit about, what's actually happening, because I've had people on here in the past, and we've talked about, going out and looking for Bigfoot and stuff, but we haven't specifically gotten into, okay, so what does that even mean? Like when you go out to look for Bigfoot, what are you finding? Because you've had a ton of interactions, right? So what are and I mean, you've had visual sightings, you've had all this other circumstantial stuff constantly happening where you might not actually be able to get eyes on it necessarily. But it's the big guy, as we're calling him. But so what is in your opinion, and I'm sure it maybe changes, but what are the best tactics to use if someone wants to go out Bigfooting? What do you recommend they do?
Just go out and be normal. If you think you're going to be stealth and sneak up on one, you're nuts. Just go out in the woods at night and just cruise around and be quiet and listen to what's going on. They're going to come to you. You're not going to sneak up on them. I guarantee that. Unless it's some rare.
Yeah. I've never really heard of any story of somebody being like, oh yeah, and I really snuck up on this Bigfoot and didn't realize I was there. It's like that. I've never, and every once in a while you'll see these videos that pop up online. And it's like of someone like sneaking up on a Bigfoot, and you're like, I don't think that's probably that's a real video.
No, I mean, we have some tricks we use. I'm not going to go into it, but it basically involves numbers and trying to confuse them. And, maybe someone jumps off the trail and everyone else keeps going.
Oh, okay. So basically,
that's worked first a couple times.
Okay. So kind of go out into the woods, set up a campsite, and kind of just live your life, kind of.
Yeah, but pay attention. And do some homework beforehand, because a lot of, like I said, a lot of the stuff that I used to dismiss or think was, something normal wasn't normal.
Oh, you mean like
if the bird sounds too big?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like do some research. Yeah, listen to some sounds or stuff like that. I mean, they mimic owls, they mimic other animals, they mimic birds, but they're not quite right. They're just a little bit off.
Yeah, so it's understanding who are the natural animals in that area where you're going to be hanging out, right? Understanding what they sound like, when they're active, because there's nocturnal animals. There's, what is it, binaural or,
I don't.
Yeah.
Then,
so understand who's out there, um, and then understand what they sound like, and then you can kind of go from there if something seems out of the normal range of what one should expect in that spot, right?
Yeah, just pay attention to detail. I mean, listen to what's really going on, because people so frequently just have their head up their ass. I mean, I hate to say that, but they do,
I feel like that might be a personal
including
attack,
myself.
but
Yeah.
I what's funny too is, like, I think it's important to, I mean, just from my own experience in the past, which hasn't been a ton of, like, Bigfoot encounter experience, but it feels like when you're just kind of, when you're not like hyper focused on, okay, we need to get something. And it's like you let your guard down, so to speak. You settle in to the environment in a more natural way, and let them come to you, kind of thing. And then all of a sudden you feel the vibe, you feel the vibe, the energy, everything just shifts. And all of a sudden you can tell when somebody's around.
No, you're dead on. And don't go waving guns around, because that's the fastest way for them to never show up. So yeah, if you're out there flagging guns, and they're not going to show up.
So when you go out on these trips, do you keep it like in the car or close by, or do you keep it on you, or does it matter?
You've been with me.
Yeah. Yes, I have. And I felt, I remember at one point on that Florida trip, especially towards the end, I was like, where's Dan? I'm not going outside unless Dan's around. Um,
I try
but
and keep it really concealed and don't pull it out. But yes, I do carry protection with me and have it in the tent with me.
yeah, which
And
is just safety
that's the
first,
last
right?
thing I want to do, is shoot at one or shoot one, because I guarantee they're probably going to whoop your ass anyways. But it's a false sense of security.
Yeah.
If they want us, they're going to take us out. They're just that superior.
I get that sense too. And mostly from, people who have a ton of experience. Um, I kind of rely on their, expert opinion on this matter. Um, more so than even just my innate sense that
Mm-hmm.
hasn't been developed over decades and decades of being out there. But because I was never a woods guy, I didn't grow up in a family
Right.
that did hunting or any of that kind of stuff. I mean, we'd play in the woods and hung out in the woods as long as they were around before they got cleared out and developed or whatever. But actually, I
Right.
think we do need to take one more little quick break here. Um, and we're gonna get back into it with my buddy Dan Butler. And just as a reminder for everybody listening, you can get commercial free over at patreon.com/Ryan Singer. It's $3 a month, no commercials. You never have to hear commercials over there. And even free patrons will get I might put this one up free for everybody, because I want everybody to have this without the interruptions. So this one's going to be commercial free for everybody. So even if you're not on the Patreon page yet, go over there, sign up for free. You don't have to pay any money. And there's also a holiday deal going on. I think if you type in the word milkshake, you get 33% off your first month. So, because I love
Milkshake.
milkshake. I love milkshakes, and it's the holidays. It's holiday milkshake season, buddy. Yeah,
That's
milkshake.
right. Eggnog.
Oh, hell yeah. See, Dan Butler gets it. We're going to be right back with my buddy Dan. Okay, so we're back, and maybe people had time to maybe they had paused and got themselves a milkshake, or made a milkshake at home, or a nice chilled glass of nog. But I'm actually going to make my first batch of nog probably right on Monday. I can't wait, but we can talk about that shit
It's
later.
funny. That's my horse's name. Well,
Wait,
it's the true name's Nogaliska, but I call him Nog.
oh, that's really, so you got a horse?
I have two horses.
You have two horses. Okay, I got to get up there. I got to get up there before the end of the year, for a couple of reasons. Because after my experience in 2019, where I just had the ever living shit scared out of me, we're like, okay, we have to get you comfortable. If you're ever going to be in the woods by yourself, you got to know how to use a firearm. You got to get a firearm. So, is it I'm trying to remember.
Might know a guy.
Yeah, you might know a guy. And if anyone's seen my act and has ever seen my snowflake with a gun bit, It is. And me talking about like how many bullets go in the gun and all that kind of stuff. And I'm on the phone with a friend of mine. We're talking to him right now. Directly, comedy comes to life. But so what's the I don't know. I mean, what's the message from a guy like you who, you weren't born into this world, just like your first words that you ever spoke weren't Bigfoot, right? So, I mean, you became someone who started putting the puzzle pieces together. You start going out and actually, trying to see, okay, well, what's what here? Let's see if this is actually legit. And you start having all these experiences and encounters. And it's beyond the shadow of a doubt for you at this point, or would you say you're like a 97% believer?
No, I'm a knower. I've had a face-to-face 18 yards.
That is, I mean, this is one of the stories I really want to get into. And because I think experiencing, and like you said, you're a knower. And it's hard to really translate this to the skeptics of the world, who don't value, personal eyewitness testimony the way they would like a lab experiment or something. You know what I mean? But this is like one of those things that will cement a belief just because you know it to be true, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So tell me what happened here.
I mean,
when you had this one.
I'll give you the super short version. So we're on an expedition. Basically, we're out doing research.
Okay, just for people listening who might not know the shorthand. So you're on an expedition. Yeah,
so we go down the hill. We're having some interactions down there and stuff like that, throwing some things at us, things like that, which is uncommon. We come up the hill, and then one of the guys out front's running a therm, and he sees a Bigfoot run across the front of the road and then up the hill. So he's got thermal, but he had a crappy thermal. So, I mean, you can tell what it is, but it's not anything inclusive, it's no Patterson footage. Well, they always like to mess with our trucks, right? And having my background, I go back and I'm looking for fingerprints and things like that. I'm analyzing my truck. I'm doing a quick, search of it. And I'm looking down. There's a technique where you blow your breath on the truck and it'll illuminate fingerprints and stuff like that with the condensation. And I see to the corner of my eye a red light. Well, I thought it was one of the guys on, coming up the trail, but.
And this is at night?
And then I realized this is at night, yeah.
Okay.
Probably like 12 at night. But I was the last guy in line. So then I turn around and I'm like, what? And I look up again and it's standing right there in front of me, looking right at me. I looked at it. And my first instinct was, this is one of my guys wearing a big down jacket. But it's summertime. We're not wearing down jackets. Your brain tries to put it in that filter of what, try and make sense of it. And then I realized what it is. And their eyes glow, Ryan. It wasn't eye shine because I didn't have
holy shit
a light.
So
their eyes glow red. I don't know how they do it. And this particular one, we call it one eye. And we've been seeing it for years. Because it only has one, or at least one eye that glows. The other ones, both their eyes glow. So we're 18 yards apart. And when I finally figure out, what it is, I freak out and run back towards the group who's on the road. And this particular one had just crossed the road in front of my other buddy, and he's all freaked out because it ran right in front of him. And I actually have a track from her, or I say her because that's just what my gut says. Like, it just puts off a feminine vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else is substantiated. I didn't see boobs. I didn't see anything like that. It's just my gut. But she turned and walked, or it turned and walked, and I turned and walked or ran. And that was my first actual face-to-face. I've had numerous times where I've got them on thermal and stuff like that, but this is like face-to-face. And I was excited, but I was scared. It was a whole lot of emotions going through me.
Yeah, and I think it's, a lot of it has to do with just, the elusiveness of them. First of all, it's not like you're seeing, a dog out on the street getting walked by its owner. It's like we see dogs all the time,
Right.
and now would you characterize One Eye as being how much bigger or smaller than you?
She's a little bigger than me. I think she's probably around almost 7 feet. She's pretty big. I think she's older. We've been seeing her for a long time, probably 10 years.
Wow.
But this is the first time actual, face to face. We call her One Eye because, she only has one eye that glows, and the other ones all have, two when they make them glow. They can turn them off and on. I don't know how they do it. Don't ask me. I have no idea. I thought it was absolute bullshit. I'm like, no, it's eye shine. Nope, they can make them glow. I don't know how they do it, but they do. And that's my first face-to-face, like, natural eye sighting. But she came to me. She could have ran off. She could have hauled ass. I think it's when you have this vibe that you're not there to hurt them. You don't mean any harm. You go in there all nervous and like you're going to smoke one of them or going to hunt one down. Good night, buddy. They're going to take you out.
Yeah. Do you think sometimes that's, that's when someone might get zapped as well? If they've got
I've been zapped before.
Okay.
I've been zapped.
What was your zap? What was your
warning.
zap? Yeah. What was your zap? How would you characterize your zap? Or can you tell us about what you felt and what happened to you?
Yeah, it was like instantly being sick. Like flip a switch sick. You can just feel it. And as soon as you move out of the area or whatever, then you feel normal. I've had it happen to me twice. And it's weird. But people around you can feel the energy or whatever they're projecting. I don't know if it's infrasound but it literally makes you feel like you want to puke.
Wow.
And I think there's different levels. I've heard people talk about where they're not okay until they sleep for a while. It seems like there are different levels of zap. I think it's just like, when they've had enough or they're saying, hey, time for you to go.
Yeah.
But I've only had it happen twice.
Yeah. It's last call at the Bigfoot bar.
Yeah. We're tired of playing. Time for you to go home.
Uh-huh.
Get your ball.
It is wild to me too that there's this sense of familiarity, I think too, that it sounds like is kind of unfolding in what you're talking about with specifically with One Eye and whoever she's with. And I think you're 100% accurate to be going with your intuition or your feeling on this stuff. I think so much of just paranormal research in general, which for me, this falls under, these anomalous areas of people investigating and researching and having experiences. So much of it is feeling and energy and our consciousness that is, whether we realize it or not, is connected to these things and their consciousness. Because I think it's safe for me to say that you clearly think that they have consciousness, self-awareness, and high intelligence.
Oh, absolutely. They're 10 times smarter than us in the woods by far. It's child's play for them. But I trust my gut, man. It took a while, but I can tell when they're around. Sounds crazy, but you get this feeling. You know when they're there and when they're not. I don't know if they choose to let you know that, or if it's something they put off, or pheromone in the air. I have no idea. But over time, I've gotten where I can tell if they're there or they're not.
Yeah. And do you think that they're, from time to time at least, allowing us to capture them on like thermal, or, on audio, things like that?
I do. I think it's their choice. They're just so smart, man. They're so elusive. I mean, anyone who's ever hunted a big buck, you think they're smart? I mean, they can walk into a stand of timber and there's nowhere out, and then they just disappear. Well, these guys are like tenfold that. They're incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I do
And
love,
how they do it.
yeah. Well, how do you, what do you have, actually, we got to take another quick break here. I'm talking with Dan Buttler. We're talking about, out in the woods, encounters with Bigfoot, with Sasquatch, the feelings, the energies, the, getting zapped, face-to-face encounters, just the knowing, of their existence. It's beyond a debatable argument at this point for so many people. And for me, that's enough. That's enough evidence, even though I have never face to face had an encounter. We're going to be right back, and we're going to get more into that, and their willingness to let us actually capture them from time to time, which seems definitely to be a willingness in my opinion as well. So we're going to be right back after this short break. And boom, we're back. So I want to talk about this willingness to be captured a little bit, or at least captured on camera, right? Or of some kind of device, because we have, a little experience with that together. When we were in Florida in 2019, you captured on your thermal two things. And actually, one of them escaped capture because of a battery just dying situation, right? So I want to talk about that, but first let's talk about the first thermal that we captured, or that you got on your what was it, a FLIR scope, or what was it exactly?
It's a thermal scope, or it's called MTM. But yeah, no, it doesn't shoot video, it just shoots pictures. It's military grade thermal.
And so we're out, at this neighboring property, and Dan Lindholm hears something get up and run away. He says it's bipedal, and so this is one of those crash course things too that I was talking about. And so all these Bigfoot motherfuckers like you, Dan, and everybody just start running after it, and I'm just like, okay, I guess this is what I guess we run towards the noise, which to me was always really funny. And so we're kind of in we're not in a dogged, like, get it, kind of pursuit. It's not like it's Frankenstein's monster and we've got torches or anything like that, but we're trying to, capture some kind of evidence of it. And you somehow got it on your scope, right?
Yeah, I managed, well, the head of it.
Yeah, right.
This is a big slope drop. Well, you remember, it was a big slope drop off. I think it was like, what, 8 foot?
Yeah.
When we did the reenactment.
Yeah, the next afternoon we went out there to try to recreate and reenact it, to see like if we could get us, an estimate on size and everything. And
and we want to rule it out too, to make sure there's nothing there that it could have, mimicked it, but there was definitely nothing there. It was wide open space.
Yeah, and just to be clear, when it comes to using the the thermal, is there, what would give off a false heat signature, if anything, under in those circumstances late at night, when we were over there?
Well, I mean, anything with heat can give a false signature, but it's just varying degrees of heat. And this was definitely something alive. I mean, because, all the ambient stuff around it was a cooler temp. So this was much hotter than everything else around. And obviously, if it's something that's been running or is ramped up, it's going to put off more heat. I've got enough experience with thermals to know when I've got a false reading or if I've got something real.
That's
And this is
interesting.
definitely real.
I never thought about the actually doing exercise and making you put off heat, but I guess it makes sense. I mean, that's why they call it burning calories, I suppose. But
Yeah,
so okay, so when something's been in running or has been active, their heat signature is going to be a little hotter than when it's not, even for us.
absolutely. And when you look at humans and stuff like that, we have clothing. So like our bare face and things like that, or arms, or I mean, after using a thermal for a significant amount of time, you learn to read signatures and what's an animal and what's not, because animals are uniform because they're not wearing a sweater or they're not wearing a hat, or so it gives off a uniform signature. And this is definitely a uniform as much as I could see. And yeah.
Yeah, and then shortly after that, there was something else that you saw through the thermal. I obviously wasn't able to see it. Do you remember specifically how that played out?
No, absolutely. I thought it was the log at first, because decaying logs will give up a signature. But when you start seeing movement or whatever, so this thing started coming towards us. And so I'm trying to take a picture of it because it's big and it's coming towards us. And when I tried to take the pic, batteries smoked. Well, they were brand new batteries. And this is probably an entirely different show, but for some reason, when these things are around, they smoke batteries. Remember back to when I was telling you when it was throwing the rocks at the window, blocking out the moon?
Yeah.
I had put out a recorder with brand new batteries, toast. My truck, brand new truck. Never had problems with the battery. It's a diesel. Both batteries dead.
Wow.
It seems to happen with them. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know if they draw from that, or I don't know.
It is
But
interesting to wonder why
the
it
batteries
happens.
went dead. Yeah, it always seems to happen at the key points too.
I
I
know
mean, right? I mean,
it's so aggravating. The and obviously people on the outside looking in are like, isn't it always convenient for these people that right
no,
when the
yeah,
thing happens? And it's like, but when you get into it, you just realize you just have to we have to just accept it's part of the thing, part of the game. It feels like it's part of the game, the actual game that is being played. um so when this thing was coming towards us, what do you mean? Was it walking? Was it crawling?
no, it was on all fours, going towards the kind of like like apes run across the ground like that,
Oh,
but
wow.
way bigger.
I mean, and there
We,
was a large
I'm
group
sure
of
you
us out
remember.
there. Yeah, there was a large group of us out there. I mean, there was probably 7 of us out there at least, right?
Yeah, and you know me, I don't get excited real easy. But I was pretty excited on that one, and then
Yeah.
scared because I couldn't see it anymore. And
Yeah, and it
last
was
time I saw it was coming at us.
yeah, it was huge, and it's just like coming towards a large group of people. Now, if you had to
Yeah.
speculate, do you think it was a different creature, or the same one that had we captured the head on thermal on the downslope?
Yeah, I have no idea if it was or was not, because the head we captured, I mean, it was just that. I didn't see anything more than that. It wasn't even until later when we actually were able to blow it up and take a look that we realized what was actually captured. I just wish the thermal would have worked on the second one. And if you remember, just before that, we had or was it after that? Was it pushed down the tree?
Oh shit.
Remember when you guys were behind me?
Oh shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah, right near that bed. I have
Oh my.
pictures of you in that big ass bed.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, like so much happens that it's hard to even remember all the wild stuff that occurs. Now, I mean, and that thermal image to this day is still one of my favorite pieces from that trip. The uh we've never captured anything like that as far as I know, and we've made 3 different trips this year, and I haven't even had time to go through the footage on any of them as we as we put together this, what hopefully will be, a feature length documentary at some point once I can actually get my teeth into it, starting early next year. But the, uh, the pieces of evidence that one can collect through, even, a decade of, because I think you said 2011 was, when you first really started getting out there for this specifically, after a lifetime in the woods
Yeah.
already. And so we're talking about, 13 years worth of, and we've got what, multiple face-to-face encounters, visual sightings. We've got evidence captured on thermal, audio evidence, and we haven't even gotten into the video you sent me. I guess we can get into that now. God, it's
Well,
already.
let me just say this, Brian.
Yeah.
I have investigated lots of homicides and stuff, and I put people in prison for their entire life on not even close to the amount of evidence that we have as far as the existence of the big guy. I mean, I think science is nuts when they ignore this. I mean, you have the footprints. I have footprints of my own. I have footprints from the night that I saw her, or one eye, or whatever it is.
Oh, wow.
It's just insane that people ignore it. And you know what? All the woo-woo stuff, yeah, if I was listening on the outside too, I would think, yeah, this dude's nuts. But when you got, our team it's a lot of law enforcement, military guys. We're not schmucks. And we're not used to just roll over and go, oh, yeah, that's what it had to be. No, we're investigators. We do our homework. We don't just say, yeah, that was Bigfoot because we heard a noise in the dark. We try and rule it out first.
Yeah, you've given me, over the years when we've chatted, you've mentioned some, obviously we won't mention them here, but some details about, the team that you go out with. And, safe to say that I would feel safe in the company. I'm actually doing a lot better now, actually, after having gone back to the Florida property a bunch of times. I actually do okay now. Now that specific location still gets me, pretty nervous, because as you remember, it's a totally different place when the sun goes down out there than it is during the daytime.
Avalanche, buddy, avalanche.
Yeah, avalanche. I tell people that story. I was like, I start to yell avalanche, but there's no avalanche. I'm like, fuck, there's no avalanche. But let's talk about oh shit, what was it that we were getting ready to talk about? I totally just spaced out because now I'm thinking about, I've got all these different, you have so many stories that we've just chatted about.
The one on the river.
Oh yeah, we want to talk about the river footage. And now now it's not footage that you firsthand, but I mean, you can't get closer degree of separation than this when it comes to, footage from someone that of actually knowing somebody, right?
Well, I have two that are very first hand. One's from a task force agent that was set up in, I won't give any more than this, but just there was a trail camera set up to catch guys growing illegal weed. Ugh. Sorry, I got to chew in. And so that trail cam footage is nuts. But the one on the river, that's from my daughter's boyfriend at the time. So,
and to be clear,
like
they weren't, they were not looking for. This is just a normal, like, bikes. Yeah, this is like a Saturday afternoon or something.
Yeah, they thought it was a bear. They're like, oh, look, a bear swimming in the river. Until it stood up, and they're like, oh.
Yeah, and I'm going to, by the time this episode comes out, I will have this edited together, and I'll have it out. And Dan sent it to me a while ago, and he's like, yeah, get this, put this together, get it out there. It's it's time for it to to be out there. it's super compelling. I showed it to a friend of mine who's I don't know if I would know someone who would be harder to convince about the existence of Bigfoot and things like that than this guy. He's it's not that he's against believing in weird stuff or any of that kind of thing, but it's just he's a very particular guy who just needs to be very compelled to believe kind of anything, right? When it comes to something that's outside of
Mhm.
his scope of belief and knowledge. And
Well, those are the guys you want.
yeah, exactly. And then about once a week, ever since I've showed it to him, I'll just get a random text message. I just keep thinking about it and I'm just really blown away. But yeah, it's super compelling. And it's one of those things too where I don't know if have you been back to that location?
Yeah. Yeah. And I have one of my research partners actually has gone back again and actually had a full on visualization of, well, I don't know if it's particular that animal or whatever you want to call it, but, and it had a juvenile with it.
Oh, wow.
Same location.
Now, how would you characterize this location in general? Pretty rural, neighboring the
Uh,
suburbs, or easy access?
I would say it's mountainous, but inhabited. Not like houses are 10,000 miles away. There's houses relatively close. There's actually a high school really close to where this is. Really close.
And I think that's one of the things that first struck me as very interesting. The more you start actually going out into these locations as opposed to just, researching and consuming, reports and things like that, is you start to realize, oh, these things are amongst us.
Oh, for
They're,
sure.
they're not totally separate, right?
No, there you don't have to hike 5,000 miles into the middle of nowhere to be in an area where a troop would hang out. I mean, I took my kid and his buddy out one night. We just ran like crazy. I'd got some brand new thermal stuff. Just killed the night for them, make some excitement, take them out, see some animals. So my son always used to make fun of me. Yeah, Dad, Bigfoot. Da da da. We're driving along. All of a sudden, he just gets completely freaking quiet. And I'm like, what? He's like, Short version, he saw one right off the road, right off a main highway. And the way he described it, I mean, he doesn't know shit from Shinola about Bigfoot, but the way he moved his hands and made the sagittal crest and showed me the outline, I was like, yep, welcome to the club, buddy. He's like, Dad, I'll never make fun of you again. I'll never make fun of you again.
Yeah, now you're crazy, just like your old man.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to the club. Shit, Dan, this has been great. I can't wait to obviously I'll be making a trip to see you pretty soon. And oh, I've got some other actually some show dates I can tell you about, but that won't be till next year. But and obviously want to get you back down to the Florida location. So we'll talk about that. I mean, because on that initial trip in 2019, I mean, talk about just having, an ace in the hole investigator there who, yeah, I mean, because you found a den, you found the print that we casted, you caught the thermal image. It was
That giant X.
yeah, that giant X. You recreated through my footprints actually, by being able to track me up the driveway, right?
Yeah, no, I could tell exactly what you did. I knew it was legit because I could tell when you turned your head. Yeah, no, it was great, and we found a footprint. Remember?
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
or wait, the one that we cast, right?
yeah, the one we
Yeah, yeah,
cast.
yeah. That was like not too far in between the sugar shack and the house. Um,
Yeah, right where you had your experience.
yeah. So, oof. Yeah. So yeah, can't wait to get you back down there for the next trip, and so we can actually, you know, actually compile some legitimate evidence again.
Mhm.
Dude,
Just so you
it's
know, on the side of you can probably use this later, but we went back at reconstruction, and the one that's in the river is 8 foot plus and 4 foot wide. Because we went back and put markers and did measurements and stuff like that. He's a big boy.
oh wow. So this video that I will have out by now, we've got yeah, we might have to do just a little short context for that video too for people on
And no worries.
yeah, so um yeah, just to, you know, add some additional supplemental information for that video. So we're talking 8+ feet tall, 4 feet wide on that on the recreation of that.
Well,
What we
absolutely.
okay, wow.
Every bit of that, yeah.
Wow.
You
Okay, that's a hell of a video. Well, Dan, I appreciate you jumping on. And now, you know, I don't think there is, but is there something we want to plug for people, like, you know, where people can find you on social media or something, or you just like to keep it quiet?
now, you
Keep
know
it to
me, man.
yourself.
I'm low key.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah,
I don't know how much you want to give about my history and stuff like that. I mean, you can edit this out, right?
I can edit it
If
out
it
if you
helps
want me to.
you,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, I mean it's up to you. But if you know, I didn't mention anything about my SWAT history and being a sniper, and I don't know if that matters or if it helps people or whatever.
Well, I mean, I think when it comes to, especially in situations where, you know, you, where the energy and there's tension and there's something happening that's outside the scope of what most people experience in their day-to-day lives, right? When it comes to like hyper tense situations, how do we react in those situations? You've been trained to keep your shit together, right?
Well, I'm frosty, but I'm
Yeah.
telling you, dude, that first time when I've kicked in many a door of homicide suspects. I've been finger on trigger, ready to rock. Guns shot at me, and I've never been as scared as I was that night. So
When you had the one
the
in the
very first
cabin.
one in 2011, but my hacks went up, but I didn't lay it out. I mean, I didn't give my history and what I've done and all that stuff. I kind of keep that tight, but if it helps your podcast and helps people, you know, understand that I'm pretty frosty. I don't
Now, what does that mean
shit
when you say
myself for no reason.
you're pretty cool under pressure? Is that what that means, Frosty?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Oh my God. And we didn't even get into it. I remember, because you and I think both, or in 2019, we were talking by the fire about Dogman. And
Oh, fuck that.
yeah, see, that's exactly what I was getting ready to say. It was like, as soon as we talked about Dogman, that is a turning point for me when I actually started taking Dogman seriously. It was after we had a conversation about, you know, we're gonna have to do another episode in the future. I think people really enjoyed this one. I know I did. It's always great talking to you, buddy. There's just way too much shit to try to cover in, like, you know, roughly an
I
hour.
gotcha.
So, but yeah, we'll have to do it again in the future. I appreciate you coming on. And if there's one word of advice you'd give for people that want to go do a camping trip and are super interested in Bigfoot and having an encounter, what is the one thing you would tell people to prioritize over everything else?
Pay attention to detail. Take it in. Don't assume everything is Bigfoot, but don't dismiss everything either. Use common sense.
Yeah. Don't overthink it when it comes to
Yeah,
some of that
I mean
stuff.
it's not that difficult, but we need to talk about Idaho too
Oh shit.
and
Yeah.
Dogmen.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's God. I mean, there's just so much. Maybe we should just set up an interview for next week, and then I can just put it out later. You know,
all right, no worries,
what I'm
man. I
thinking
know we're cutting off. Or
yeah. So
I just wanted
okay. Well, dude, I mean, now I want to talk about fucking Idaho. Okay, no, we can't do it right now. We can't do it. Right. That's a great teaser for a future episode. We'll talk about that another time. Dan, thanks for doing it. And just to everybody listening, thanks again for listening. I know you enjoyed it. And, you know, RyanSingerComedy.com's got tour dates for 2025, and, you know, it'll be New Year's Eve in Dayton, Kentucky, you know, essentially Cincinnati, Ohio. Still waiting for a Dayton, Ohio pre-Christmas show. So I'll keep you posted on all that. But I'll be traveling back to the Midwest here pretty soon for all that good stuff. And we'll have more with my buddy Dan Buttler here sometime in the relative near future. Thanks again,
Go see Ryan, man. He's funny as shit.
Hey,
He's
straight from Frosty's mouth. Did you hear that?
You are, dude. All right, Ryan.
I appreciate it, buddy. And here's to never having to say avalanche in your presence, hopefully.
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not too.